Welcome to the OLV Daily Reflection for Saturday, January 16th. Today's Gospel passage comes to us from the second chapter of St. Mark's Gospel. It reads, Jesus went out along the sea. All the crowd came to him, and he taught them. As he passed by, he saw Levi, son of Alphaeus, sitting at the customs post. Jesus said to him, "Follow me." And he got up and followed Jesus. And while he was at table in his house, many tax collectors and sinners sat with Jesus and his disciples, for there were many who followed him. Some scribes who were Pharisees saw that Jesus was eating with sinners and tax collectors, and said to his disciples, "Why does he eat with tax collectors and sinners?" Jesus heard this and said to them, "Those who are well do not need a physician, but the sick do. I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners." Jesus' words at the end of this passage cut right to the heart of what he would do throughout his 3 years of public ministry. If Jesus needed to talk to or associate with people who would call his reputation into question, he would, because his only concern was the salvation of souls, nothing else. Therefore, Jesus establishes the model for ministry that the church followed throughout the last 2,000 years. We are called to go out to others, not to sit necessarily in offices and wait for people to come to us, but to truly recognize that there's moments where, in order to minister to someone, you have to go to them and meet them where they're at in their lives. Now, for many of us, this type of ministry would be hard because it requires us to be vulnerable, to take risks, to go out to unknown, unforeseen circumstances, and to truly meet people where they're at. But this is the model that Jesus gave to us, and for some of us in ministry, this is what we have to do in order to fulfill what God is asking of us. Now, the Pharisees in this passage do not recognize that Jesus is doing ministry. And furthermore, I don't think that the Pharisees were necessarily thinking that he was doing anything truly harmful either. They just didn't understand. Since the people that Jesus ministered to were individuals who did some sinful things, the Pharisees probably were making the assumption that he could possibly get caught up in their sinfulness. Or maybe they were thinking that in some way Jesus was enabling their sinful behavior. But again, this was not a concern for Jesus. He was there to heal them, to bring them into the light, to show them a different path, to love them, and to give them hope for their future. And the Pharisees didn't recognize what was going on. So therefore, they probably did not have any blatantly evil purpose in questioning his motive, but just did not understand that he was the Messiah and what he was truly trying to do for others. So Jesus' approach to ministry is something that we as his followers need to imitate. But we also should mention that there's limitations to what we can do in our ministries, because ministers can get pulled into the problems that they're trying to address. Ministers sin, which, unlike Jesus, we have to acknowledge. So the temptations that come with ministry are real realities that need to be understood and dealt with in appropriate ways. And this is the reason that a lot of the ministry that happens in the Catholic Church is done after some training and discussion about the challenges that come in ministry. A significant part of my formation as a priest was dedicated to making sure that I knew the boundaries and limits that have to exist within ministry. But we still know what we're called to do, brothers and sisters. We are called to serve others in the best way we can in order to imitate Jesus Christ. So some of us will be called to go out. Some of us will be called to be in uncomfortable circumstances in order to build up the kingdom. But on the other hand, we know that there's limits to what we can do. So this is where we have to discern how can we be ministers who accomplish Christ's desire for us to go out, but also recognize that there's limits to what we can do. So through prayer, through working with others, and really having a heart fixed on imitating Christ, all these realities can be addressed. And we, like him, can truly help people to be healed, to have some hope, and to find the true peace that they've been looking for in their lives, that come from knowing that others care for them and that Jesus Christ is always in his church seeking out those in need. Our Lady of Victory, pray for us.